Well, it's a long, long story, because at the end of the war, I had been assistant secretary to the Secretary of War at that time, and I was relieved of my duties, but I was reading in the newspapers about what seemed to be a new epidemic of coronary heart disease among executive men. And I had the idea that it might be a good idea to follow some healthy executive men and see which ones would develop the disease. Well, it wasn't very long before it appeared that there was some connection between coronary heart disease and cholesterol in the blood. And so we started experiments in a manicomio on the diet and found that there was an important connection between the fats in the diet, particularly the kinds of fats in the diet, and cholesterol in the blood. Well, I had all these ideas in mind when we were in Oxford. I was a visiting professor at Oxford University for a year, and invited to be a chairman of a first meeting of the Food and Agriculture Committee on Nutrition in Rome. When I got down there, and everybody was talking about food deficiencies, and I said, well, let's talk about the question of coronary heart disease. And they said, well, there's no problem. Gino Bergami, professor of physiology, says, no problem in Naples. We went back to Oxford, and after a while it was cold, and I had an invitation to go down and look for myself what was the situation in Naples. We did find that in Naples, the common people, there was practically no coronary heart disease. You'd have to go to the rich people, the private hospitals, to find any. And we found also at the same time there was a great difference in the diet. I was taken to a dinner at the Rotary Club there and saw how the rich people ate, and then I saw how the poor people were eating, and there was an important connection there, I felt. So the idea of making an examination of whole population came to me. We couldn't depend on just a few observations like that. So while we were in Naples, we looked around the countryside, thought it'd be nice to buy a little property and have a picnic ground or something like that. And so with Flaminio we came down. Do you remember?
Yes, sir.
We came down here and bought some property, and we saw something about the way people live here, at that time anyway. And we thought it would be a good idea to describe what we thought was the good Mediterranean diet of the people who obviously had very little problem of coronary heart disease. And so Margaret and I got busy and wrote a book. And the book was very popular, and Dr. Fidanza's wife translated into Italian, and Dr. Carbonen's wife translated into Finnish, and various other people translated into Japanese and German and Spanish and so on. Well, that was the beginning of the whole idea of populations observing the diet and perhaps attempting to do something like the diet that we saw around here, which at that time was almost vegetarian. They had fish, more fish then than now, and so that convinced us that we should make a study in other places as well. We went from here to a trial in real south of Italy, in Nicotera, and then from there to the island of Crete, and began the systematic study of the populations in Europe and then also in Japan. And all of this pointed to the importance of the diet. Other things also, of course, but that was the main thing. And when you speak about the diet, as I mentioned at that time anyway, the local diet, and what we thought was a good diet, was largely vegetarian. Fruits and vegetables and fish, not many fish actually, but that was what they lived on. We developed recipes, and we lived on it also. We liked it, so that's the story of the diet.
I was horrified to read in a guidebook years ago that coming to visit Italy, all you needed to know was to say buongiorno e grazie, and I cannot eat underdone spaghetti. People spoil spaghetti by overcooking it. It needs to be served freshly cooked and not overcooked, not too soft. A way to enjoy it more is to experiment with different sauces besides the standard, at least in the United States, standard ground meat and tomato sauce. We like wild mushrooms cut up in bits and cooked in olive oil and served on freshly cooked spaghetti. Pepperoni the same way, cooked in oil. It's a real treat on freshly cooked spaghetti. You can make an excellent dish with zucchini and freshly cooked spaghetti. A little oil with the zucchini to make it mix well with the spaghetti. But many vegetables are adaptable for use with spaghetti and make it more interesting and give you more variety.